Hi, I'm Eve. I'm 13, and I'm not gonna tell you my story. Not for the world. You don't want to see agents in black glasses burst through your door and be like, "Hey, you know too much. We're gonna erase your memory." Do you? Hey, don't turn around. They're already behind you. I'm kidding. Relax. My story is shrouded in mystery, though. Please like this video, and let's get started. My mother and I live in a small town. Mom was an engineer and worked for the RoboFriends company. They made, you guessed it, robots. Cool, right? However, when I was 5 or so, I thought Mom was a robot too. Quit laughing, I'm serious. It all began when I went for a walk in the park. There were many other families there. All of the other parents were hugging their children, laughing and eating ice cream with them. However, we were different. While I was playing in the sandbox, my mom was sitting on a bench and staring ahead without blinking. Some mean girl suddenly called her weird. My parents say that your mom looks like a robot because she has no emotions. Her words made my blood boil, and I decided to tell my mom a joke and prove to everyone those rumors were complete nonsense. What worm doesn't live underground? A gummy one! Mom looked at me indifferently and turned away again. Very funny, sweetie. That's when I realized for the first time that I had never seen my mom smile or cry. When we watched The Lion King, I was blubbering, but my mother just patted my head and repeatedly, tonelessly, said that everything would be fine in the end. There really was a happy ending. Obviously, Mom knew that because she'd already watched the cartoon. But back then, I thought she was a robot who could see the future. One day, I saw a movie on TV about cyborgs that looked just like real people. The protagonist taught the other people in the movie how to tell if someone was a robot. First of all, robots had no sense of humor. Yeah, that sounded like my mom. Who wouldn't laugh at a joke about gummy worms? Robots also had no sense of taste. Mom once made me a very spicy soup. When I tasted it, it felt like smoke was gonna start coming out of my ears. But my mom was completely fine. And finally, robots were afraid of water. I decided to check. That night, I took a jug, crept into Mom's bedroom, and poured water on her. She immediately woke up and jumped out of the bed scared.
Eve, why would you do that?
Anyone would have been freaked out, but I thought it meant Mom was afraid of water. Now, I had no doubt that she was a robot. I spent the next day staring at her and poking her to find her off button. Maybe if I booped Mom's nose, she'd fall asleep. Boop.
Eve, stop it.
What if I poked Mom's eye?
Eve?
Oh, that was so dumb of me. I'm 13 now, and I realized it was just me imagining things at that time. Unfortunately, my relationship with my mom hadn't changed much since then. I'd always wished she'd hugged me more and talked to me warmly. She rarely showed any emotions, and raised me to be the same. The other kids thought I was weird and didn't want to be friends with me because of it. I liked math and exact sciences. All of that made me the biggest weirdo at school. Mr. Calculator was my only friend. Yeah, don't laugh. I was allergic to animal hair, so I couldn't have any pets. But one day, everything changed. I went to a chess club on the weekends. Besides me, only old people from the nursing home came there. That's when I was surprised when I saw a boy my age. He walked around with a ruler and measured everything that caught his eye. I was playing against Mr. Goodman, but the old man fell asleep while he was thinking about his next move. So, I decided to talk to the newcomer. Hi, what are you doing?
Oh, this is my friend, Ms. Ruler. I use it to measure everything when I come to a new place. I'm Kevin. I'm weird, I know.
You think you're weird? Let me introduce you to my friend, Mr. Calculator. Kevin and I had a lot in common. We loved numbers, chess, and pineapple pizza, so we quickly became friends and started to hang out. One day, we walked out of the cinema and ran into some guys. They were from Kevin's school, and they didn't look friendly. One of them was called Paul, and he seemed to be angry at my friend for something.
Hey, I thought I told you to stay out of my sight.
I couldn't believe the nerve of that spoiled brat, and I decided to put him in his place. According to probability theory, the chances of two people living in a small city being on the same street at the same time are incredibly high.
What? Kevin, tell your girlfriend that I don't speak nerd.
Of course not. You'd need a brain for that. They scowled and left, and Kevin and I gave each other a high five. For the first time ever, I felt like I had found someone who understood me. One day, I asked him over. Mom made pizza. I don't recommend eating it though. She's such a bad cook that I thought she was a robot when I was a kid. Can you imagine? Then I told Kevin that my mom was an engineer and about all those funny situations that made me think that she used to be a robot. To my surprise, he turned gloomy and showed me an article that said 13 years ago, Robo Friends had been developing humanoid robots. The project had apparently been closed and no one knew why. There had been rumors about the robots getting out of control and escaping.
13 years ago, that's when you were born. What if you were right and your mom really is a runaway robot from the company?
What? I was not a little kid anymore. I wouldn't believe nonsense like that. But on the other hand, there were too many strange coincidences. I didn't have grandparents, I didn't know anything about my dad, and Mom acted like we weren't even related. What if she had stolen me from my real family when I was a baby to avoid suspicion? I got goosebumps when I thought about it. Ugh. I asked Kevin to help me get to the truth, and he happily agreed. I realized that my mom often had dinner in her office. She said that she was busy, but what if she was just hiding the fact that she didn't consume human food? Kevin and I followed Mom and saw her buy several cans of engine oil.
That's probably her fuel.
I wasn't about to believe my mom was a robot that easily, so we kept watching her. That's how we found out that whenever Mom went for her evening run, she often just sat motionless in the park and stared ahead. One day, I heard a strange noise coming from her office, like static on the radio, and then there were more weird sounds, like there was a bunch of animals in there. I looked into the room and I saw that Mom was alone. She quickly stood in front of the table and told me to leave. Had she made those sounds? Soon, I snuck into Mom's bedroom. I wanted to rummage through her things and see if there was anything suspicious among them. But she suddenly walked into the room and I quickly had to hide in the closet. As I sat there, I accidentally overheard her phone conversation.
Eve is growing suspicious. We need to finish the project as soon as possible.
Had she figured out that I knew the truth? What project was she talking about? Was Mom planning to take over humanity? Maybe I'd watched too many movies, but I was really scared. I got out of the closet and I went to Kevin.
You should make your mom show her true face.
But how was I supposed to do that? Mom was so emotionless. If I said that an asteroid was flying towards Earth, she would have probably said emotionlessly, "Okay, honey, don't forget to do your homework." And then Kevin had an idea.
You should make her angry. Remember my classmate Paul? His parents have a comic book store. Sneak in there and destroy something. Your mom would definitely react to that.
I appreciated Kevin's help, but ruining other people's things was going too far. I refused to do it, and he scowled.
You know, Eve, you're suspicious too. You get perfect marks, you have no friends, and you don't like vampire series, unlike the other girls. Maybe you're a robot too. I think I'm gonna stay away from you from now on.
What? At first, I thought Kevin was joking, but he frowned and slammed the door in my face. What the heck? Can you believe it? Okay, all I had to do was prove to him that I was human and expose my mom. So I went to Paul's parents' comic book store and started walking between the shelves. He immediately saw me and came over.
I remember you. You're Kevin's girlfriend. There's something you should know about him.
Before Paul could finish, I knocked a comic book rack to the floor. Paul grabbed his head. His parents came running and shouted that they would call my mom. I smiled because that was exactly what I was trying to achieve. Soon, Mom came to the store, paid for the damaged goods, and took me home. There, she started to shout and scold me. That was the first time in my life I saw her emote.
You've always been so good. What happened to you?
I just wanted to be sure that you're human.
What are you talking about? Of course I'm human.
Then prove it. I asked her to tell me about my grandparents and my dad, but Mom got even angrier and forbade me from bringing it up again. Ugh! We fought for so long that my voice got hoarse. I couldn't stand it any longer, and I ran away from home. Besides Kevin, I had no one to talk to, so I came to his place. I couldn't help but burst into tears.
I'm glad you wrecked Paul's store. Since you can cry, you're definitely human. I'm sorry I doubted you.
Kevin invited me into the kitchen and left to call someone. While I was waiting for him, I suddenly remembered Paul's words. He said I should know something about Kevin. I wondered what he meant by that. Then Kevin walked back into the room with his dad, who was a cop.
Here she is, Dad. She's the weirdo I told you about. She thinks her mom is a cyborg. Can you imagine? She's so messed up. She also vandalized a store and ran away from home.
Can you believe it? I thought he was pranking me at first. Were there hidden cameras filming me? I tried to explain to the cop that his son's imagination was running wild, but he indifferently replied that he would take me to child services so that they could check my mental state and assess how safe it was for me to stay at home. It was nuts. Why had Kevin set me up like that? Things only got worse after that. The child services employees talked to me for a long time, and in the end, they told me that I would have to stay in an orphanage for a while. The worst thing was I didn't have anyone to call. Kevin turned out to be a traitor, and Mom had apparently never loved me at all because her mechanical heart wasn't capable of it. Oh, Mr. Calculator, you're my only friend again. One day, I was feeling particularly sad and lonely, and the teacher in the orphanage, Mrs. Will, came up to me and suggested we play chess. I gladly agreed. As we played, I told my story to the old lady.
You remind me of someone. A very smart girl used to live in this orphanage. She was abandoned by everyone, left with no love and parental warmth. So she grew up very reserved. Her photos are probably still in the archive. Let me check.
The teacher found the album, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw the pictures. The girl had a mole in the same place as my mom. And then the teacher told me what the girl's name was. And it dawned on me that it was my mom in the photo. So that's why she was so weird. Now it was clear why she hadn't wanted to talk to me about her parents. They had abandoned her. I was glad to have proof that Mom wasn't a robot. And I also felt terribly sorry for her, and I wanted to see her. I escaped from the orphanage and I went home. But then I accidentally ran into Paul. Our town really was too frickin' small. To my surprise, he wasn't mad at me for what I'd done.
I know that Kevin got you into trouble. I'm sorry.
It was clear now why Kevin really didn't have any friends. The dirty liar had a rotten personality. He framed or betrayed everyone he'd ever been friends with. One day, Paul almost got into trouble because of him and promised to get back at him. So Kevin had decided to use me against him. That coward! That vile bastard! Well, never mind. He wouldn't get away with it. First, I had to talk to my mom. I apologized to Paul and I rushed home. I couldn't believe my eyes when I got there. Mom was sitting in the living room looking at a picture of me and sobbing. Had she missed me? That was the first time I saw my mom cry. I immediately threw my arms around her. Mom, I'm sorry for everything. We talked for a long time. We cried and laughed as we finally cleared everything up. Mom said that she had only bought those cans of oil because they were being sold at a discount. She was always lost in thought when she sat on the bench in the park because that's where she had met Dad, and she liked thinking about that day.
Your dad was a brave pilot. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about him. I'll do better.
Then I remembered the strange phone conversation I'd overheard while hiding in the closet.
Oh, I was just discussing a project I was working on with my colleagues. I didn't want you to find out about it ahead of time. After all, it was a gift for you.
Then, Mom showed me a robot puppy that she'd built for me. Wow! I couldn't have any pets because of my allergies. Until now. Can I call him Calculator?
Of course, sweetie.
Of course, before I could come back home, my mother and I had to prove that we were a normal family. But soon, it was all finally over. My mom and I were closer than ever. One evening, I was playing with my puppy outside when I saw Kevin. He was walking next to some guy and pointing at my house.
The family that lives there is crazy. They think they're robots, you know?
Ugh, did he find a new friend to betray? I wanted to pounce on Kevin, but then Mom came out on the porch and gave me a sly wink so I would play along. Then she started to move like a robot and clapped her hands. The garage doors opened smoothly, and a buzzing lawnmower came out. It drove around the lawn while my robot puppy was barking. Kevin's eyes were the size of saucers.
They really are all robots. Ah!
He got so scared he ran away with his tail between his legs. My mom and I laughed and explained to Kevin's new friend that it was just Mom's invention. An automatic lawnmower controlled by claps. I hoped our prank would teach Kevin a lesson. As for the article about humanoid robots that supposedly became conscious and ran away from the company, I never found out if it was true. Do you think your parents could be cyborgs?